Hello YouTube family, thanks for joining me on my videos. If you like the videos, please give me a like. If you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to help the channel grow. Thanks for watching the videos. Sincerely, thanks for watching. Hello YouTube family, thanks for joining me on this video. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the politicization of American society. I would assume if some of the people, particularly right-wing people who stumble upon my YouTube channel, will probably assume that I am some sort of dyed-in-the-blue, true blue Democrat Party supporter, which I am not. As a matter of fact, I despise political parties altogether, and until the 2016 election, I had voted through my adult life 50-50 between independents and Democrats. Sometimes I voted for independents because of I believed that was the person I wanted to be elected. I agreed with an independent candidate more than either of the two parties, plus the fact that I just like political parties. And part of the time I voted for independents, hoping that an independent would win, just to see how that played out. Because, as you know, in this country we have an electoral college system where the electors are either Democrats or Republicans, and if an independent won, you would end up with whoever came in second, the Democrat or the Republican, would determine which electors sent their votes to Congress, and would the electors who were specifically party selected vote for the independent that won the state. I've had that curiosity for years. I mean, we've never had it play out. And honestly, I was hoping. I used to live in Utah. Right now I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prior to here, I lived in Utah. And I was hoping in the state of Utah in 2016 that an independent would win, because as it turned out, Donald Trump was the Republican Party nominee. Utah, as I'm sure some of you who watch this will know, is a very red state. Utah is one of those states that's colored in red before any votes are counted, before the polls are even closed. They know it's going to vote Republican. However, in the Republican primary in Utah in 2016, Donald Trump finished third. He was very unpopular in the state of Utah, but he became the Republican Party's nominee. There was an independent, right-leaning candidate, former military soldier, a veteran, a former, I believe he was a Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, who was running as an independent and was polling well. I mean, in the state of Utah, like in 2016, what I'm talking about, for instance, Hillary Clinton was not going to win Utah. The question was whether Trump would win as a Republican or whether the independent was. I was hoping the independent would win to see the result. That was my whole curiosity with that race in 2016. And as it turned out, despite how much the Utah population appeared to dislike Trump, when push came to shove, they showed up at the polls and they did what they always do, voted Republican, and Trump won easily in the state. So, despite that apparent possibility, in the end, the independent didn't have a fighting chance because of the stranglehold political parties have on American society. And that's the politicization. It is the political parties trying to make sure the American population is split up between two camps, the Republicans and the Democrats. The one thing you can count on these two parties coming together on is if they have a common foe that is a non-Republican, non-Democrat independent in a race. They want to make sure that person does not win because they want to keep the power structures that exist in place and that is for the two parties that have dominated politics for more years than any of us have been alive. And that's what this video is about. Politicization, to ask yourself the question, why do I believe what I believe? Is your social and political perspective something that was fomented and created from youth by your parents? Do you believe what you believe based on who you are, how you grew up, the influence of your parents on your life? Is a lot of your perspective based on a particular news outlet, a particular news personality, some online personality? When you find yourself in a social or political discussion, are you repeating things you heard on Fox News or MSNBC or from, say, Laura Ingraham or Tucker Carlson or anyone from left-wing media, an Anderson Cooper or whoever? Where do we get our perspectives? Are your perspectives based on what politicians and news media tell you, or do you consume media, have it filter through your own personal beliefs that are yours and yours alone, and come up with a perspective based on what's going on in the news as far as social and political current events? And for so many people, and you can see it, you can hear somebody make an political argument, and you can say, oh, this person watches Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham because he's repeating their arguments. Or this person watches Rachel Maddow daily, Monday through Friday. He's repeating her arguments. Or she is repeating her arguments, whoever it may be. And I would hope that we all craft and possess our own perspective. Something that is more than some superficial, mimicking talking points of talking heads on TV or online. And certainly not beholden to who our parents were. I mean, for so many people, they will show up and vote Democrat or Republican based on how their parents voted. And that's all they do. They don't pay attention to politics. They don't pay all that much attention to news, unless it has to do with them, the state they're in, the business they operate in. Someone who works in the finance field may watch CNN Business or Fox Business. Read the Wall Street Journal. That's the only news they care about because that has to do with the job they perform. Whereas, some people like me, I consume a lot of news and I filter it through my own personal perspective. Whereas some people are completely detached. They don't vote, haven't voted for years, some for decades, because they look at everything and say, what does it matter? Does it matter if a Democrat wins or a Republican wins? In the end, I'm an average middle-class person, blue-collar, working-class person. I'm a working poor person, whoever they are. In the end, none of them are going to do anything to better my life. They're all playing games that are above my level. I'm just trying to survive. So I don't care who sits on the throne. I'm not voting for any of them. Which, some people will vilify those who don't vote. I understand the perspective. I understand the giving up. That it's, nothing is going to come out of what I do other than what party sits on the throne. But I've made a video mashup I wanted to play, so let's go in through that.
Clarence Bartlett is no fan of Democrats.
But them blame Democrats and all them ticks has ruined this country. And we're trying to get it back.
Outside this Trump rally near Asheville, North Carolina, I ask him what's going to happen if Trump wins. His answer's a shock.
Oh, they'll kill him if he gets elected. That's how bad they are. They're the most evilest people I ever seen, lying to deny.
Who would kill him?
Well, the Democrats, the ones that's trying to cause riots and everything. It's obvious it's in the news.
Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart. Call the police immediately. Contact Child Protective Services.
Shelley DeProto prefers to be in the kitchen, cooking for her patrons.
I love what I do. I do.
But she's spent the past 2 days fielding more than just orders.
I came to work.
Me and my family are done eating there, and we will never come back.
There were messages. There were over 50 messages by the time I walked in.
I wouldn't eat at that restaurant if it was free.
The first one was really threatening, and they were very profane.
Trump is the best president ever. You dumb mother. I can't wait for the Civil War.
Open those doors. Open those doors.
People called, messaged, and made fake reservations.
Hope you enjoy the backlash.
At DeProto's Red Hen in Old Saybrook, after White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders tweeted, "Last night I was told by the owner of the Red Hen in Lexington, Virginia, to leave because I work for the President of the United States, and I politely left."
Ron, you genuinely believe that he's coming back? That he could come back as soon as
before the middle of August.
And what if that doesn't happen?
Huh?
What if that doesn't happen?
We're going to be in a civil war because the militia will be taking over.
Okay, I'll be back.
Sit down, we want to talk to you real quick. Want to talk to you real quick?
Hi, actually, I am heading out.
But right now is a real moment that our people need in order for us to be able to talk about what's really happening. We need a Build Back Better plan right now.
We knocked on doors. We need solutions, and the Build Back Better plan has the solutions that we need.
We knocked on doors for you to get you elected, and just how we got you elected, we can get you out of office if you don't support what you promised us.
We need 7 million citizenship for 7 million. We need the Build Back Better plan right now.
My name is Blanca. I was brought here to the United States when I was 3 years old. And in 2010, my grandparents both got deported because of SB 1070. And I'm here because I definitely believe that we need a pathway to citizenship. My grandfather passed away 2 weeks ago, and I was not able to go to Mexico and visit him because there is no pathway to citizenship. And if we have the opportunity to pass it right now, then we need to do it because there's millions of undocumented people just like me who share the same story or even worse things that happen to them because of SB 1070 and because of anti-immigrant legislation. And this is the opportunity to pass it right now, and we need to hold you accountable to what you told us, what you promised us that you were going to pass when we knocked on doors for you.
You'll all be fired from your day jobs because if your employers knew that you were more inefficient than the DMV, you would be replaced in a heartbeat. I literally just finished a conference call because I'm having to multitask to be here to address you guys. You're a bunch of cowards hiding behind our children as an excuse for keeping schools closed. You think you're some sort of martyrs because of the decisions you're making when the statistics do not lie that the vast majority of the population is not at risk from this virus. The garbage workers who pick up my freaking trash risk their lives every day more than anyone in this school system. Figure it out or get off the podium.
What had been planned as a typical school board meeting in Virginia's wealthy Loudoun County this week devolved into pandemonium. Shame on you! Shame on you! With hundreds of parents flooding an auditorium to accuse the school system of teaching their kids that racism in America is structural and systemic, something the school board denies is part of the curriculum.
Emotions are running high at school board meetings across the USA over masks. Mask mandates are touching raw nerves everywhere.
Actions have consequences. If you vote for this, we will come for you in a non-violent way.
You do not have the legal authority to issue a mandate. These parents aren't putting a mask on their children, and if you try to force us to do so, I know I personally will sue, and anyone else here who will join me, please show a hands.
Everybody's taking notes, buddy. Keep that little smug. Yeah.
Fine job, you boys, protecting us. Really, I'll give you this back until you have the last one. Put it back on. Put your mask on.
It's sucking that back.
Put your mask on.
Then we know who you are. We know who you are. No more masks.
Keep it calm. Keep it calm.
No more masks.
We're on these guys' side. They're on our side.
No, they're not. They're not on our side.
The police are on our side. The police are on our side. Let's calm down.
Yes.
Calm down. We know who you are. We know who you are. You can leave freely.
We know who you are.
But we will find you, and we know
You will never be allowed in public again. You will never be allowed.
You'll
never let it be allowed in public again.
I know who you are. Let him out. Let's let him out.
He's going to be traumatized because you put that mask on him and you don't let him breathe through it. You're traumatized.
That's my choice.
Yeah, well,
that's my choice. You better respect my choice.
Masking children is child abuse.
It is.
You mask your child, you're a child abuser.
You should choose what goes on your child's face and in your child's body. This is rape. Yeah, this is rape.
Okay, so that was the video mashup I'd made for this episode. And let's work through the videos. You know, in the first video clip, it was a clip from back in 2016 during the general election when Trump was running for president against Hillary Clinton. And you had that CNN reporter talking to this older man named Clarence Bartlett. And, you know, you listen to what he says, particularly now with the ability to look back over the last 5 years. And Bartlett, the older gentleman he was talking to, had the perspective that if Donald Trump wins the election in 2016, they, being the Democrats, will kill him because they're the dangerous, violent rioters and stuff. And, you know, how did that play out? You know, in the end, Donald Trump won. Hillary Clinton conceded the next day after Trump won. And the outgoing Democrat president, Barack Obama, gave Trump full access and his team full access to do a normal transition of power between one president, outgoing president, to the next. No animosity, no BS games, just handing the reins over to Trump and his team. Then we see, after the 4 years Trump was in office, he ran for re-election. He lost, and he had to start this whole politicized BS narrative that it was widespread voter fraud that caused him to lose. He didn't lose legitimately. He refused to do the normal transfer of power, transition of power, and so the Biden team lost crucial time to get certain people in place, things in place, to get information, to get the updates they needed from the various departments within the government to start their administration. So the Biden administration was late really getting started because the outgoing president was still throwing a hissy fit over the fact that he lost. And then prior to Biden taking office, it was the right-wing Republican Party supporters that decided to bust through the doors of the Capitol, bust through windows, go around chanting "Hang Mike Pence," looking for Nancy Pelosi, wanting to cause havoc and harm to their ideological opponents, their political opponents. What the Republicans did, both in news media and some of the Republican elected officials, was foment that. They kept continuing this BS narrative that the election was stolen, that Donald Trump really probably won, that the Democrats cheated, and that there was election fraud. They both denied the attackers on the Capitol were Republicans, while at the same time defending the people that attacked the Capitol, saying they were being treated too unfairly. It was all politicization, getting smeared all over the place. And that's one of my issues with the politicization. I hate it, and both sides do it, but not to an equal degree. Whereas the Democrats' politicization, to me, seems more cringy. The Republican politicization in so many cases, particularly nowadays, because the Republican Party has gone so crazy far right-wing. They've gone really off the deep end of crazy, that they politicize things in a way that are quite dangerous. Now, going through the video, the second video was the Tucker Carlson clip, where he was saying that someone who has a mask on a child, this was earlier on in the pandemic, when they were trying to continue politicizing the virus, along with the common sense precautions to take during a pandemic. And Tucker Carlson was saying that someone who puts a mask on their child is abusing their child and is no different than someone physically hitting their child in Walmart. Insanity. That's a type of politicization that is so dangerous for the society. The next clip was the Red Hen restaurant issue. Back when Trump was in office, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was his mouthpiece. She was the spokesperson for the White House, and she had gone to a Red Hen restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, and was asked to leave because they didn't want to serve someone who worked for Donald Trump. And honestly, I mean, if you have that perspective that I'm opposed to everything this man does, I don't want you eating in my restaurant, so be it. You know, if I work for some politician and I walk to a restaurant and they're like, we don't want to serve someone that works for the politician you work for, I would leave. But it's still politicization. You know, honestly, if I owned a business and people walked into my business to buy my products or services, I would sell it to them. I don't care if it was Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump. I don't agree with Donald Trump at all. But if he walked in my business to be a customer, I would still sell him the product or service. If you're in business to make money, to sell products or services. There was a video of Trump coming back. This whole delusion that Donald Trump's going to get reinstated as president. And there are a lot more people than you would think who have that belief. That Donald Trump is going to come back and be reinstituted as president somehow. There's no legal mechanism for that to happen in this country. Somehow they believe it. And like that guy said, there are too many people that believe if it doesn't happen the way I want it to happen, expect a civil war because we're violent and crazy. You know, on a lot of my videos, I add the hashtag unhinged right because the right in this country is so insanely unhinged at this point. The next video was the Kyrsten Sinema video where she had supporters following her into a bathroom in Arizona. She's a senator from Arizona. She's one of the right-wing senators that are opposing every piece of legislation that would help average people while opposing legislation that would put any onus on corporations that give her large donations. The bathroom where she was going to was at Arizona State University, where she apparently teaches a class. Despite the fact that she has a job, being a senator, she's apparently also a part-time college teacher at that college in Arizona where she teaches a class on getting money, on fundraising. That's her class, is on fundraising. This is how you become a sellout. 101. And you had people that weighed in on that video because there are people that say, don't follow somebody in the bathroom. That's in such bad taste. And like I said, a lot of the things Democrats or left-wing people do is more cringy than dangerous. It's not dangerous to people, to society. It's just cringy. You're like, you're following her into the bathroom. And I don't really feel sorry for Cinema because she seems to be an objectively such a horrible person. You know, she wears her F-off ring and she takes such pride and joy in stopping the Democrat Party's agenda. Even though she's a Democrat, you just scratch your head watching her operate. And I don't feel sorry about her being bothered in the bathroom. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't follow somebody in the bathroom. But beyond, I feel sorry for the people who were in the bathroom. If you watch the video clip, there were other women in the bathroom leaving that had to be thinking, oh, why did I have to be using the bathroom at the same time this woman came here? But that's who I feel sorry for, the other people that are there. And in the video, you still heard a man's voice in the women's bathroom continuing to ask her questions. I get it. Kirsten Sinema is one of these politicians who has constantly been trying to run away from her constituents because she doesn't want to have to talk to them, to look at them. She doesn't want to have to be in the same room as them. And she tries to get away. It's so hard to have your grievances addressed with your senator because she runs away from you. To that, I would say, then it's up to you to vote her out. You know, if you can follow her into the bathroom, you can walk around your community drumming up support to start a movement to vote her out of office. The next video was the video saying, the guy talking to the school board members, saying they should be fired for not doing their jobs well. This was one of those school board meetings where the guy was upset over schools not being open because of the pandemic. And he had made this comment that garbage workers are risking their lives every day. You know, he tried to make, on the one hand, he tried to make a point that for the vast majority of the population, the virus isn't dangerous, which isn't true. The virus is potentially dangerous to everybody in society, because the thing is, you don't know if you'll catch it or not. You don't know if you'll get sick or not. You don't know if you'll die or not until you get it. Then you find out. And that's why so many people chose the path of, I don't want to get it. But he made that comment that the garbage workers risk their lives every day, and I'm sitting there watching the video thinking, are you saying that the teachers and students going to school should risk their lives every day because garbage workers do? I mean, garbage workers have a particular important role in society. As we've learned through waste worker strikes, if the garbage isn't getting picked up on a daily basis, and refuse starts collecting in piles in the streets, something gets done immediately. They play a very vital role in our society, in our towns and cities. Garbage workers have not had to go on strike for very long before people wanted something done immediately. Pay them, get the garbage out of here. The next video was the CRT protest at school. You know, this is a very politicized right-wing thing, where you have people on news media, right-wing news outlets, you have right-wing politicians politicizing this CRT narrative, and CRT stands for critical race theory. What critical race theory is a graduate level program in a select number of universities where you have graduate students going through this CRT training, trying to figure out if teaching history with the added aspect of race, has merit and value. And CRT is in no way, shape, or form taught in grade school. That's grades 1 through 12. It's not taught in undergraduate school. It is only taught in grad school. And you have the right wing who have politicized it to where anything they don't like, they've thrown under CRT. You know, some teachers teaching slavery in the 1800s in America, people get mad and say, that's CRT. That's not really CRT, that's just teaching history. And it's caused massive protests at schools, at school board meetings. It's insane. You have the next video was one of the anti-mask school board rants. People ranting, threatening to sue over their kids being forced to wear a mask at school. And the people who are throwing those fits at the school board meetings are the ones who have been politicized by who they're listening to, who they're getting their perspective from. You know, to say that I have the right to not have my kids wear a mask without looking at the fact that you don't have the right to sit your kid next to somebody else's kid who doesn't want their kid to get sick, to get the virus, and bring it home to them. You had the Williamson County, Tennessee school board meeting, where it was a school board meeting with the question of masks and what procedures to put in place for the coronavirus when they were going through trying to open schools back up. And they had brought in some medical professionals. They had brought in some doctors, nurses, some epidemiologists to address the school board members and educate them on the virus, on, you know, the efficacy of mask wearing, social distancing, all this stuff. Meanwhile, you have this massive gathering of right-wing nut jobs outside who are threatening, I mean, literally in front of the police, they were threatening both school board members and medical professionals. Epidemiologists and doctors and nurses who were leaving the meeting are having to hear these nut jobs shouting at them, saying, "We know who you are. We will find you." I mean, in front of the cops. The cops aren't doing anything other than trying to have people move back so they can leave, so the people at the meeting after it was over can leave. Insanity. And very vile and violent. And then the last piece on the video was the situation in California where you had these anti-maskers who were yelling and screaming at parents walking their kids to school. I mean, you're talking about young kids hand in hand with their parents walking to school. You've got these crazy right-wing nut jobs trumped up on Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, whoever, OANN, Newsmax, people shouting at them as they're just trying to get their kids to school. And that's, you know, what I wanted to also address here was, even though both parties play the politicization game, it's not equal. It's not a wash. It's not. I mean, as I said, the Democrat and more left-leaning people, their politicization turns out to be more cringy, but not really dangerous to you or me, not dangerous to our society. Whereas the right, because they become so unhinged, the right-wing voters, the population, the people who are around you and I, are so unhinged that the politicization from the news media, right-wing news media, the right-wing politicians, causes dangerous situations. I mean, right now we have the Rittenhouse trial going on. My last video was on the Rittenhouse trial. And Kyle Rittenhouse was this kid who had this deep desire to go to Kenosha, Wisconsin to walk the streets, patrol the streets with his gun, an AR-15 military-style rifle, while there was civil unrest. There was the Jacob Blake protest going on. I understand the point of the people protesting. It's disgusting the amount we have to watch of police brutalizing unarmed black men and women, Hispanic men and women, and it just goes on and on. And you have the right wing who have propped this kid up, Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, no matter what the decision is, this is day 2 of deliberations, they still don't have a verdict. The fact that the jury has not come up with a verdict yet tells me there is part of the jury that believes he's guilty on at least some of the charges, and part of the jury believes he is not guilty on some of the charges, possibly not guilty on any charges, and they're trying to come up with a consensus. And, if they all believed his story of self-defense, we'd have a verdict by now. We wouldn't be 2 days in with no verdict. So the fact that we're 2 days in is saying that they are arguing among themselves over what to charge him with. And that may be a matter of everybody on the jury believes he should be charged with something. They just don't know what. They may be looking at it and saying it's not first-degree intentional murder. I don't buy that. But what else is there that he's guilty of? Because he killed 2 people. He's not innocent. It's not, as he put it, I did nothing wrong. But no matter what happens, no matter what the verdict is, they could come back and have him convicted on 5 charges. And the right wing, Rittenhouse will at that point be a martyr. They could come back and exonerate him completely, charge him with nothing, and again the right wing will prop him up as a hero, Rittenhouse. And that's the problem with politicization. It causes 17-year-old kids to walk the streets with a military-style rifle. That's insane. It causes people to go to school board meetings to threaten school board members, to threaten doctors, nurses, scientists. It causes people to get kicked out of restaurants just because they work for a particular organization or a particular politician, which is cringy to do that kind of thing. Kick somebody out of your business because of the fact that they are a prominent right-wing or left-wing person. That's cringy. Once you start putting guns in the hands of kids, it's dangerous, and people die. It's dangerous to you and me as average people working and living in this country. It's dangerous to our republic. And I just want people to take some time to think about, why do I have the perspective that I have? Do I have it because of right-wing or left-wing news media? Do I have it because of the life I've lived, the experiences I've had, and because of what I think and believe as a person? And hopefully we can move away from paying any attention to the politicization that these political parties try to get us involved in. They try to get us wrapped up in mentally things that don't matter. They try to get people concerned with what's the potato head toy named right now. Is the Dr. Seuss Enterprises organization dropping some of the books from publication that I've never heard of? Those things don't matter. But what they do is cause people to focus on something stupid rather than focus on the fact that year in and year out, the majority of the new wealth created in this country goes to a very small percentage of people at the top. That's what they don't want you to focus on. Both political parties don't want to be responsible for coming up with legislation that accomplishes something. As you can see right now, the Democrats have this large agenda they started with. They've whittled it down to a fraction of what it was originally and still may not pass that. They don't want to be held accountable for having to pass something substantively that's going to help you or me, the average person. They want to get people focused on arguing about BS, culture war topics that in no way, shape, or form mold our lives one way or the other. You know, let's face it, you don't give a damn what the potato head toy's called. And neither do I. But that's the video for today. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up. You know, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. And thanks again for watching.